Here we will be talking about organic compounds which contain halogens. Organic compounds which contain halogens are broadly classified as either haloalkanes, where the halogen atom is directly bonded to an aliphatic carbon, or haloarenes, where the halogen atom is directly bonded to an aromatic ring carbon, and a third category is called as alkyl halides. Here it is an alkyl halide which also has an aromatic ring, where here the halogen atom is on the aliphatic carbon, but there is an aromatic ring. So, this is the third category of compounds. So, I am talking about the basic introduction that you require for continuing your study on halogen compounds. As I said earlier, these three classes of halogen compounds, the either haloalkanes, haloarenes or alkyl halides. So, these are the three classes. Another category that I would like to say is about the nature of the halogen compound. Halogen compounds could either be primary or secondary or tertiary, depending upon the nature of carbon to which the halogen atom is bonded. If it is attached to a primary carbon, it is called a primary haloalkane. If it is attached to a secondary carbon, it is called a secondary haloalkane. If it is attached to a tertiary carbon, it is called a tertiary haloalkane. It is easy for us to remember and understand from the name whether it belongs to this class or the other. For example, we know that if the halogen atom is on the first carbon, then it will be a primary haloalkane. So, always the name will be either 1 bromopentane, 1 chloropentane, 1 bromobutane. So, it will be 1, the number will be 1. Whereas, if it is a secondary halogen compound, then the halogen atom will be somewhere on the middle carbons. Now, for example, it will be 2 chloropentane or 3 chloropentane, 2 chlorohexane, 3 chlorohexane. So, the halogen atom is the central atom. So, it will be a secondary haloalkane. Tertiary is very easy to understand and remember. If the tertiary halogen atom will have a halogen atom and there will be an alkyl group also on it, then only you have a tertiary carbon. Easy for you to remember. For example, a tertiary haloalkane's name will be 2-chloro-2-methyl pentane or 3-chloro-3-methyl pentane. So, where the halogen atom is there, there will be an alkyl group. For example, it could be 3-ethyl 3-chloropentane. So, these are tertiary. Whereas, if it were 2-chloro-3-methyl pentane, so the 2-chlorocarbon does not have an alkyl. So, it is a secondary. So, 2-chloro-3-methyl will be secondary halogen compound. 2-methyl 3-chloro again will be secondary. So, this is an easy way to remember. Another way of identifying certain compounds that you normally will encounter during a study of halogen compounds is a word called isopropyl chloride. Isopropyl chloride refers to the presence of the chlorine on the second carbon of a propane chain. So, what is the IUPAC name of isopropyl chloride? 2-chloropropane. Normally, when you use the word iso, it refers to the second carbon here in naming. So, 2 at the second carbon in a propane chain, it is called as isopropyl chloride, isopropyl bromide, etc. This again you must always remember. Another category of compound is, we already know, if the chlorine is on the benzene ring, we call it chlorobenzene. If it is bromine, you call it bromobenzene. But if the chlorine atom, as I said earlier, if it is an alkyl halide, that is, the halogen is on an alkyl carbon, but the alkyl carbon also has a benzene ring. Now, benzene ring CH2Cl. Such a compound is called benzyl chloride. Benzene CH2Cl. The chlorine is on the methyl carbon and not on the benzene ring carbon. So, it is called benzyl chloride. Okay. These names will be found during your course of study of halogen compounds. So, remember this kind of naming also. Clear? Another thing is, whenever you talk about the halogen compounds, we need to know the nature of the halogen compound and its effect on the benzene ring, on the carbon. Normally, what happens whenever you find a fluorine, chlorine, bromine, etc., the first thing that strikes in our mind is they are electronegative. So, whenever a halogen atom is bonded to a carbon, naturally what will happen? The halogen atom will become delta minus, the carbon will become delta plus. So this polarity is a very interesting feature of all the halogen compounds, and its characteristic is defined based on this polarity. Okay. We must always remember therefore that the CCl bond will always be polar, delta minus N will be the chlorine, delta plus will be the carbon. So there is an easy possibility of the CCl bond breaking in the case of halogen compounds. Very easily CCl bond will break. Okay. So and where will it break and how will it break? Cl will always go up as Cl minus, leaving behind the carbon cation or positive charge on the carbon. So this is a very interesting thing. So it is easy for us to remove a Cl minus. So whenever Cl minus is removed, you have to necessarily get another negative thing coming in place of it. So normally it is called as what kind of reaction? Nucleophilic substitution reaction. So this is the most interesting feature of halogen compounds. They generally very easily show nucleophilic substitution reactions. Okay. We will be talking about it in detail subsequently. Another thing is regarding polarity. When you have polarity, the CCl bond will weak. Polarity is also expressed in terms of dipole moment. Suppose you take CF, CCl, CBr and Ci. Electronegativity decreases from fluorine, chlorine, bromine and iodine. So when you measure the dipole moments, what must we get? The most polar should be CF bond and least must be Ci. But on actual measurement, it is found that the CCl bond is slightly more polar than the CF bond. How is it accounted? We know the dipole moment is charge into distance. Fluorine and chlorine, their electronegativity difference is very small. But the chlorine size is large compared to the fluorine atom. So this larger the chlorine size, atom size, so very little difference however in the electronegativities. Therefore, due to the larger size of chlorine, the CCl bond is slightly more polar than the CF bond. Always remember that fact also. Okay. This is another interesting thing you must know about the halogen compounds. So let us talk about the nucleophilic substitution reactions. Nucleophilic substitution reactions are generally written as S with a subscript as capital N. So it is nucleophilic substitution reaction. In haloalkanes, the CCl bond breaks, Cl minus goes off and instead of it you get any other nucleophile. So when you treat CH3CH2Cl with aqueous NaOH, what happens? We get CH3CH2OH plus NaCl. This is called as the nucleophilic substitution reaction, and haloalkanes very easily show nucleophilic substitution reaction. This is one thing. There are three classes of haloalkanes. We know primary, secondary, tertiary. How do we understand them from their names? Primary haloalkanes will always be 1-chloropropane. Secondary will be 2-chloropropane. Tertiary will be 2-methyl propane. So we have three classes of haloalkanes. Okay. And if you treat aqueous NaOH to all the three, and though aqueous NaOH is common, the other substrate is different. One is a primary carbon, the other is secondary, the third is tertiary. So the rate of the reaction in all the three cases will not be identical. Which will undergo nucleophilic substitution reaction fastest? That in which the CCl bond will break easily. So the rate of the reaction is dependent upon the breaking of the CCl and the formation of the resultant carbon cation. In a primary haloalkane, the CCl bond when it breaks, Cl minus goes off, you get left with a primary carbon cation. In a secondary, you get a secondary carbon cation, and in tertiary, you get a tertiary carbon cation. And all of us know that the tertiary carbon cation is most stable. So the CCl bond is polar, therefore unstable. It will break very easily, in which case? In the case of a tertiary, because it results in a more stable tertiary carbon cation. Because the tertiary carbon cation is having the 3 plus I groups and also stabilized by hyperconjugation. So a tertiary carbon cation is easily obtained. Therefore, OH minus can come and attack it very easily, and subsequently we get the product very easily. So which haloalkane undergoes nucleophilic substitution reaction fastest? A tertiary haloalkane undergoes nucleophilic substitution reaction fastest. Suppose you get a question, which among the following undergoes nucleophilic substitution reaction fastest? 1-chloropropane, 2-chloropropane, 2-chloro-2-methyl propane. The answer is simple. It is 2-chloro-2-methyl propane because it is a tertiary. Here the CCl bond will break very easily because it results in the formation of more stable carbon cation. Once a carbon cation is obtained, NaOH minus can attack it very easily, and therefore the reaction takes place fastest here. Okay. This is always something that you must remember. Now I am going to get back to the primary. In the primary, what did we say? The CCl bond will not break easily. Therefore, the reaction takes place slowly. If the CCl bond has to break, then the NaOH minus also will be involved for the breaking of the CCl bond. Here, the rate determining step, which is the breaking of the CCl bond and formation of the carbon cations, here at least breaking of the CCl bond, that is dependent upon also what? OH minus. So, as nucleophilic substitution reaction are therefore two types. One is called unimolecular nucleophilic substitution reaction, the other is called as the bimolecular nucleophilic substitution reaction. What is the meaning of this? If the rate of the reaction is dependent upon only the concentration of one of the reagents, what are the two reagents here? The haloalkane and the aqueous NaOH. If the rate of the reaction, that is breaking of the CCl, is not dependent on the concentration of both, then it is called an SN1 type reaction. We said in the tertiary, the CCl bond will break and NaOH minus is not involved in it. Therefore, here in a tertiary haloalkane, the rate of the reaction is dependent upon only the concentration of the haloalkane. Therefore, it is referred to as an SN1 type reaction. Whereas in a primary, the CCl bond breaking, which is the rate determining step, is also influenced by the OH minus concentration. Therefore, it is called as an SN2 type reaction. So, primary haloalkane generally show SN2 reaction faster, and tertiary haloalkane generally show SN1 type reaction faster. Okay. This you must always remember. So, I am going to just give you a question which will undergo SN1 reaction faster. 1 chloropropane, 2 chloropropane, 2 chloro 2 methyl propane. Answer is very simple. It will be 2 chloro 2 methyl propane. Okay. Similarly, they ask you SN2 reaction, which will undergo SN2 reaction faster. 1 chloropropane, 2 chloropropane, and 2 chloro 2 methyl propane. Very easily we will say it is going to be 1 chloropropane. Okay. This is one interesting thing. Now, let me just give an insight about the SN1 and SN2 reaction. That is very interesting and it will be very useful for you. All of us know that the SN1 reaction takes place faster in the tertiary haloalkanes. Now, what is the first step? Breaking of the CCl bond, resulting in the formation of a carbon cation. See, in a original haloalkane, tertiary haloalkane, there are 4 bonds, okay, and it is tetrahedral. Once the Cl minus breaks and goes away, now only 3 bonds are left. See, these 3 bonds will rearrange to get what? sp2. I can make it very easy. I can give a very simple example. Suppose there is a crowded bus and a seat which can have only 3 people and 4 people are sitting on it. How will they sit? It will be crowded. In the next stop, one person from that seat gets off the bus. Now only 3 people are left in the seats. Will they sit like originally cramped together, or will they sit freely? They will sit freely. That is what I am asking you. Originally in the starting material there are 4 bonds including the Cl. So it will be tetrahedral. When Cl minus breaks off, what is left behind? Only 3 bonds. So the 3 bonds will rearrange. So 3 will rearrange at how much separate they will be? At 120 degree at each. So when they are at 120 degree from each other, it will become planar. So carbon cations generally are what? Planar. Carbon cations are generally planar because they have got only 3 bonds. And in a planar system, okay, the OH minus will come and attack. Once the OH minus comes and attacks it, again it will revert back to the what? The sp3 shape. It will become tetrahedral. Now, suppose I said the one person gets off at one bus stop. Subsequently, another person joins the bus. Again, what will happen? If they want to allow him to sit there, they will again get cramped. Just like that, it now gets back to the tetrahedral shape. So, now when a planar thing substrate is there, OH minus can attack. From where will it attack? It can either attack from this end or it can attack from this end. So, what is the probability of getting a product? The product probability, if it is optically active, 50% will be like this, the 50% will be like this. So, what is the product? It will be a racemic mixture. 50% if it is optically active, 50% of plus will get and 50% of minus will get, and that will be an optically inactive racemic mixture. Why? Because the intermediate carbon cation is sp2n planar. This is a very interesting thing that you must understand and remember in the case of an SN1 type reaction. Now, let us talk about SN2. In an SN2 type reaction, here the OH minus also is involved in the bond breaking. The leaving group is Cl minus, negative. Incoming group is OH minus, that again is negative. So, both the nucleophiles are involved, and we always know two negative things cannot come from same side because it becomes unstable. So, if this side is the Cl minus, the OH minus will attack from a side opposite to that of the leaving group, correct. So, the attack here is finalized. It will always be from a side opposite to that of the leaving group. Here, we do not get a carbon cation intermediate. Instead, we get a transition state, a pentavalent transition state, where the OH minus is slowly forming a new bond, Cl minus is slowly breaking away. That is called a transition state. We cannot isolate it generally. And suddenly, when the Cl minus completely breaks and goes away, the molecule will get inverted. So, the OH minus position will be opposite in direction side to the what? Cl minus. So, a inversion of configuration takes place. So, this is the most interesting. In SN2 type reaction, what happens? Inversion of configuration takes place. Okay. In SN1 reaction, you get a racemic mixture. This is the most interesting difference between an SN1 type reaction and SN2. Okay. This is generally asked. Any of these things can be asked, but they are very simple. I can summarize. SN1 reaction shown by tertiary has a carbon cation. Carbon cations are sp2n planar. OH minus can attack from both sides. So, you get a 50% plus and 50% minus isomer if it is optically active. So, it will be a racemic mixture. In an SN2 reaction, OH minus attacks from a side opposite to that of the leaving group, that is Cl minus. And here we do not get a carbon cation intermediate, we get a transition state. And when the Cl minus breaks away, again reverts back to the tetrahedral structure, we always find that the OH minus takes a position just opposite to which position? That of the leaving group, that was Cl. So, here inversion of configuration takes place. So, this is the difference between SN1 and SN2 reaction. Okay. Now, we have understood that SN1 is generally shown by tertiary, okay, and SN2 is generally shown by primary. And what about secondary? Secondary, depending upon other factors like the solvent, the temperature, the other conditions of the medium, it will either be SN1 type or SN2. So, let us focus on the two ends, the tertiary and the primary. Now, in a question paper, suppose you get two tertiary halogen compounds and they ask you which will undergo nucleophilic substitution SN1 type faster. So, what have we understood? We have understood that tertiary takes place easily because of the formation of a carbon cation. So, if you have got two A and B, two different haloalkanes which both are tertiary, first check and find out once a carbon cation is formed after the breaking of the Cl minus, check which will be more stable. I hope you understand. If the alkyl group is more, naturally the resultant carbon cation will be more stable. So, if you have got two tertiary, find out which has got more plus I effect and then that will be more stable. Therefore, that will be formed very easy. So, among two different tertiary haloalkanes which will undergo SN1 type reaction faster, that which has got more alkyl substitution. Similarly, if you take the case of an SN2 type reaction, we have already said SN1 does not form a carbon cation. Okay. And if you have got two different primary haloalkanes which will undergo nucleophilic substitution reaction faster, SN2 type reaction faster, very easily if there are two different things, one has got more alkyl group, the other has less. And we have already said that the OH minus will attack from the side opposite to that of the leaving group. If the alkyl chain is more, both are primary, but alkyl chain is more, what happens? There is a steric hindrance. And not only that, more the alkyl group, what happens? It tries to gradually slip from the SN2 to SN1. So, less number of alkyl group favorable for SN2, more number of alkyl groups favorable for SN1 type reaction, that again should be used. Another thing that you must understand here is, in all the nucleophilic substitution reaction, sometimes instead of giving a reagent like NaOH, aqueous, etc., what they may give is, they may use the word hydrolysis. So, whenever you find the word hydrolysis, do not get confused, they mean what? Substitution of Cl minus with OH minus. Okay? Which among the following will undergo hydrolysis faster? They may give you 1 chloropropane, 2 chloropropane, 2 chloro, 2 methyl propane. Which will undergo hydrolysis faster? it will be 2-chloro-2-methyl-propane. Okay, that word also you must be very careful. Clear? Sometimes they may give you 1-chloropropane and isopropyl chloride, which will undergo SN1 reaction. What is isopropyl? Chlorine is on second carbon, so it is secondary. The other was 1-chloropropane, that is primary. So naturally, SN2 reaction faster is S, which will be that 1-chloropropane. So this kind of small tricky things also you must bear in mind. Okay, this is about nucleophilic substitution reaction generally shown by haloalkane. This video will tell us how the SN1 reaction takes place. SN1 reaction. S stands for substitution, N stands for nucleophile, and 1 represents that the slowest step, rate determining step, is having only one of the reagents involved in it. Now, a tertiary haloalkane is that in which the 3 neighboring carbons of the chlorine bearing has alkyl groups. They are bulky in nature. Therefore, it will prevent a direct approach of the nucleophile towards the central carbon atom. The central carbon atom, as we know, is polarized as delta plus, and the halogen end is negative in charge. So, when you consider the reaction of 2-methyl-2-bromopropane with an hydroxide ion, then the first step involves the breaking of the CCl bond, polarized CCl bond. And when the initial stage takes place, it results in the cleavage of the Cl minus, resulting in the formation of the carbocation, which has a lower energy. Subsequently, the second step has a much lower activation energy, where the OH minus attacks the carbon cation, resulting in the formation of the product 2-methyl-propane 2-ol. So the entire reaction proceeds like this. A stable carbon cation is formed, which subsequently results in the formation of the stable product. In an SN2 type reaction, here the rate determining step involves both the OH minus and the alkyl halide. Here the rate of the reaction is dependent upon the concentration of both OH minus and the alkyl halide. So, it is called a bimolecular reaction mechanism. The nucleophile, which is electronegative in nature, electron rich, and the leaving group is Cl minus or Br minus, that also is electron rich. Both are electron rich, so there is repulsion between them, so attack is not favorable from the same side. Similarly, the bulkiness of the halide atom also favors an attack from the side opposite to that of the leaving group. So, OH minus always attacks from a side directly opposite to that of the leaving group, that is the halogen atom. And so, the approach is sterically more favored there. This first results in the formation of a transition state, where a new bond is being formed between the OH minus and the carbon, and the existing bond between the carbon and the halogen atom is gradually being broken. So, this is referred to as the transition state. It is a pentavalent in nature. So, the attack is from the opposite side. After that, the Br minus or Cl minus, halide minus breaks away, resulting in the formation of the product. So, an inversion of configuration takes place here. So, the overall reaction can be summarized, wherein the new bond is being formed in the transition state, the existing bond between the Cl or Br minus with the carbon atoms becoming weak, and it ultimately breaks away, resulting in the formation of the product. And always the incoming nucleophile will be taking a position opposite to that of the leaving group. Therefore, we refer to it as the inversion of configuration.